Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Out of the Blue. Hello again, David. How are you, sir?
Hello, Mark. I'm very well. Thank you. Very well indeed.
These weeks seem to fly by. I can't believe it's been a week since we were together chatting away.
I know.
Here we are again.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, how long is it till Christmas? Not long now. 8 weeks.
Yeah.
8 weeks, 10 weeks. It's frighteningly close anyway.
So this week, David, we're talking about very specifically 6 things to remember when you're organising the content on your website.
Mm-hmm.
So really designed to give people some pointers that will help them. It's a real difficult thing to do, basically. And we hear people say it all the time that it's really hard. And we've done something similar in the past with regards to prospectuses. So I just wanted to talk through what the differences are when you're thinking about a website. So there are 6 points that we're going to cover today. They will be, firstly, understanding who's using the site, so kind of the audience for the website, and planning the route that those users are going to take is point 2. Using signposts to make information really easy to get hold of is number 3. Number 4 is staying focused, so really thinking about the style of content. Number 5 is using lots of voices. And number 6 is asking your audience for feedback. So we'll take everyone through those points because I think those points give you a real clear direction on how to structure your content. Yeah. Just before we do, everybody, I'd just like to always take you through the other ways that you can get in contact with us and you can engage with us. There's lots of ways that we try and impart as much knowledge as we can, both from ourselves and from our contacts.
Yes,
that we chat to. So you've obviously got our social media channels that you can link with us on. So they are LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We're really quite active on all of those. We try and share as much information as we can. Remember also, I'm running my brand identity masterclass. They run once a month. Next one is the 16th of November. Runs at 1 o'clock. Mentioned these lots of times before. These are a great way for you to just start your journey on school marketing. So if you're the person that's responsible for that within your school and you need to try and get a handle on the brand of your school, so how you're approaching the outside world, how you talk about your school, we really get to grips with that branding and give you some pointers as to how you can get it straight and get it right. So really good to attend. As I say, that's running on the 16th of November, and there's more information about that on the website. You can sign in and join us on the day. And also on the website, you'll find our blog, loads and loads of useful information on our blogs about lots and lots of different topics, including this one, David. So yes, 6 things to remember when organizing content on your website. And I think a good way to start thinking about this is to imagine, for example, if your school was having an open day, you wouldn't just turn up on the day and say, oh, okay, well, we're having an open day today, and parents would arrive and you wouldn't have organized the signage and you wouldn't know who was doing the tour and you'd just leave it to chance. However, that does seem to be what happens often on school websites, is that the content itself, what you're actually saying, becomes much more important than how people are going to access it, how it's structured, where people are going to find that, and making it as punchy and concise as possible. So to give people some direction on that, we've put these 6 points together. And the first one is just basically starting with your visitors, understanding who they are. So what do we mean by that, really? Because it could be quite obvious to us, but I know that maybe not so if you're in school and you're thinking about your website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really it's putting yourself in the customer's shoes. So you want people to come to the website. You want them to find the information quickly. You want to take them on a journey through the website, and you want them to do something before they leave. and it's really mapping that out. So think about your customer, the parents, or whether it's potential new staff, or whether it's the local community. Think about what it is that you want them to access, and then work out how easy it is to find. Think about the wording that's on the page to attract them through the site. Think about the call to actions. We talk about that a lot. The call to actions are those things telling people what to do next. So, click here to watch our video, or click here to download our prospectus. Click here to find out more. Make it really obvious what you want people to do.
And what you've done there is kind of split those calls to action. So that first point, start with your visitors, is sort of thinking, well, who are those groups of people?
Yeah.
You've got your prospective parents, you've got your current parents, you might have pupils, because that's happened a lot more since COVID. We've got pupils visiting websites now. Teachers, Ofsted, the local community. Do you hire out the hall? Are those people on? And what those effective home pages that we see. So some schools that do it really, really well. We've obviously thought about that and have got all of those groups of people catered for in terms of where they're going to click, etc. So that kind of brings you to point number 2, which you've touched on a little bit, but that planning the route. So thinking about those groups of people and then planning each of their routes through the website.
Yes.
We tend to assume that everybody joins your website at the homepage, but it's not always the case, is it?
No. I think if just on our own website, the 3 most popular pages are actually blog pieces. They come from organic search, and it will be something that schools are searching, and that comes up in the search list. And our 3 most popular pages after the homepage, as it happens, are 3 blog pages. So you need to consider how they're going to arrive at your school website. What they may come through a blog, they may come through social media, and then start to think about how they navigate around the site. What is it that you want them to find? So I did bring that into the first point. But once you know the customer, once you know the user of the site, what are the different ways that they will arrive on your site, and what will they see when they land there at the first point?
I think the key there, that you use the phrase, how do they find what you want them to see? And that's critical, and it's something that often schools don't recognize or realize that they can do. So if you think about those from an admissions point of view, you think about prospective parents, new parents joining your website. That planning the route is your opportunity basically to tell them what you want them to know. And in the same way that if you had that open day, you wouldn't necessarily give them a tour of everything in the school. You might avoid some of the horrible bits. There's always an area you don't want to show parents. The same's true of your website. You control that. So make sure that you're presenting the best, that frontage of the school. It's the story you want to tell them, and you can control that. And just thinking about, okay, they'll have arrived on this page. We're then going to show them our video, and then it'll take them through to this page. And there's a really nice request for them to fill in a very short form, and we get hold of them. And that whole journey's been considered.
Yeah. So exactly that might be that they do arrive on the homepage, and it's a new parent. So it's bright and cheerful and positive, and the messaging's all on brand, and then you want them to watch the school video, and so that you big button, click through to watch the video. Once they're on that page and they've seen the video, what do you want them to do after that? You don't just leave them hanging there. Well, now you've seen the video, download our prospectus. So you take them through to a simple form, you capture that data, the name and email address, telephone number, because they're interested. You don't just give it away for nothing. You want something back from them. And once you've got that data, then thank you message, maybe then some of your news or your blogs you can send them to. But you've captured something from them. So that's the route that a new parent takes, and that's what you want in return from that. It might be another episode why you would capture that data as a school, but
there's an idea.
You've got something then to do a little bit more with.
Once you've got that. And what you're talking about there kind of brings us to point 3, that we've called it signposting, sort of putting signposts on the website. And again, it's a little bit of advice to schools that actually lots of information can be quite overwhelming if you consider this is your first experience of the school often, if you're a prospective parent, for example. So being presented with all of these options and all of this information within 10 seconds of your first arrival at the school is too much. So although you're right, all of that information needs to be accessible and it's got to be there, and Ofsted are going to insist that some of it's on there. What we actually want is just signposts for that gentle introduction to the school. How are we going to onboard these people and give them confidence and make them comfortable with what they're looking at? So those signposts, like you mentioned, those words are great, aren't they? The them big discover or explore or here a bit more obvious. They're really good for doing that. They really help somebody know where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to do.
And you'll know as a school what that typically a parent is looking for, what they're trying to find. If it's an independent school, either probably number one, you might be wanting to find out about uniform or the meals, what's available in terms of meals, extracurricular activities, and it's just signposting. We call them quick links as well. How do you get quickly to certain information? But just helping the user navigate your site rather than just leaving it to chance.
So point 4, it's quite a simple point. This, we call it finding your focus, but it's about making sure that when someone does arrive, they've been signposted and they arrive somewhere on your website, that you don't put too much on there, that the page they arrive on is focused on the information that they're looking for. Don't be afraid of splitting information over into different areas and into different pages, because it's just easier to navigate to, it's easier to find. And it also makes it a lot easier for you to, you mentioned a little bit earlier on, David, the favorite pages that we've got on our website, the pages that people visit more often. Well, if you've got focus on the content of each of those pages, it's a lot easier to recognize when you've got that analytical data from Google Analytics, for example, what it is that people are looking at, and then do a little bit more of that content. Now we're getting a bit more complicated, and this is a little bit further down the road than when you're designing your website. But if you set that up at the front end and you do have focused pages, it just makes it easier as you move on. It makes the whole website easier to manage, makes a lot more sense, I think. So, and I think 5,
as well, sorry Mark, as well, when you talk about focus, I think there's also an opportunity to have a page that doesn't have lots of different content on it. So, and maybe that's what you were referring to, but actually, you're talking about one subject. Exactly. Somebody searched for it. You've provided the answer to that, as clearly as possible, and it's focused. And then you can move on to something else rather than putting 4 or 5 different things on a page, which loses interest. So
absolutely, So point number 5 was including lots of voices. And what we mean there is it's quite easy to fall into the trap of being responsible for the website and therefore being the person that puts the content together. Maybe asking a few class teachers to give you their bits for their part of the curriculum, that type of thing. But actually, if you can add some flavor to your site, so if you can have different voices within the school. So we've got some staff that have a presence on the website. We've got parents possibly that have a presence. We've certainly got pupils, because we want to hear those voices. Then they can really help give some flavor to what the school's about and give people just a sense of that school brand, really.
I really like that. And you could even count that as testimonials. You could have nice voices of our children. You could have those quotes that the children say, how much they love a particular teacher or particular class. And I like that idea, the voices.
It kind of links to, we see lots of schools that will do school tours, and the tour will actually be done by the children. So you'll get to talk to the head teacher, but actually the tour, and parents seem to really like that, particularly in a primary environment, actually, because they get this honest they get these honest answers from the pupils. So I think parents really like to hear from the pupils there, because that's what's important. The proof's in the pudding, really. And lastly, our last point, and this would lead into, you mentioned it, perhaps there's another episode that we could run, and I think there really is, because our last point is asking for feedback, just to make sure what people think of what you've put together. We think it's right. If you're designing your website with Blue Apple, we'll have given you the extent of all our knowledge, having done lots and lots of websites for lots and lots of schools. But talk to parents, talk to the audience that we mentioned right at the top end of this episode, and get their feedback. What do they actually think of it? What do they like? What don't they like? What would they change? Because if you can get that information, then you're really going to have a website that's really hitting it, that people love, basically.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I think doing a simple questionnaire to current parents, current families, to those prospective parents that have been to see the school, that have seen the site, what did they think of it? Did they find it easy to navigate? Did they find all the information they wanted? I mean, that's invaluable, isn't it? To have that feedback from them, and then make those small changes to the site constantly. And
they're so easy to do. They're easy things to.
Doesn't cost anything. It's all should be part of that marketing process that you go through, really.
Excellent. Okay, well, we've hopefully given some guidance there on just some pointers, really, in putting the content together for your website. And if you're currently in that position, then hopefully those pointers will give you some help. So here at Blue Apple, we never create a website until we've gone through this sort of process and we've got all of this information together. So we spend quite a lot of time at the front end, not only learning about Your Remarkable, and go and watch some of our back issues on Out of the Blue, because we talk a lot about what that's about, making sure we understand the vision and the ethos of your school. But also during that process, we'll be helping outline who that audience is, what they're going to need, and strong suggestions as to the paths and journeys that those people are going to take through your website. So if you're in a position and you think your website needs an overhaul, it's got some issues, or we've highlighted some of the things that really could be considered, then by all means get in contact. Obviously, there's no obligation, but we can sit and have a chat with you. Maybe review your website, give you some pointers, and take it from there. Always happy to do that. And all of those details as to how you get in contact or you make an appointment are on our website. So David, thank you so much for your time. That's been really useful, I think. I hope
very useful, that.
Hope people have found it useful. And we'll be back next week with more of the same.
Yes, fantastic. Great to see you, Matt.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again. Goodbye.
Bye now.
Thank you for watching Out of the Blue, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and leave a comment below, and please ring the bell for notifications. I hope I will see you again soon. Bye!